Turf Today is brought to you by Toro. Maintaining a golf course demands the right equipment and finely tuned irrigation. Toro has the total solution for both. We're talking mowers, vehicles, sprayers, and everything you need for a state-of-the-art irrigation system. No other brand has a more complete lineup or a bigger network of people to support you. Find your local distributor at toro.com and see how Toro is always solving and always evolving. Now
Let's
we
try
know.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I'm pumped. We got Matt coming on. Gorlami.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are buddies there. I was reading through. He said that he's like, I can't answer this question. Brian knows I'm introverted.
Yeah. He's not an introvert by any stretch of the
Oh no, he was
imagination.
just messing
No,
around.
he is. He's one of his nicknames is Ribbons because he's
Ribbons.
got, when you go to the show, the GCSAA show,
Yeah.
and you get all those ribbons for like certified master superintendent. I can't remember what the one in Biga is, but master greenkeeper and all like he's got, speaker, all those. He's got ribbons that go down to his knees basically. So
Oh
we
my
make fun of
goodness.
him.
He is decorated.
He is decorated. He's got a lot of accreditations and certifications and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he'll be fun. And he is birthday twins with my wife, so they were born on the exact same day. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
so he's
exciting.
got that. Yeah, so he'll constantly they'll reach out to one another on their special day and all that kind of stuff. So,
Nice.
but no,
Nice.
he's a good guy. We've got some stories we can talk about with him.
Nice. We had a lot of people commenting on the Beth Page,
Yeah.
call it the volunteer package for Beth Page
Yes.
this year.
The volunteer fee.
The volunteer fee. So you would know going to all these tournaments, is that something that's pretty common? I would assume it has nothing to do with turf staff. It's more just people that are,
Yeah, I
working at the
don't think that's
shop and in the
gonna.
lines and things, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna hit our guys. But no, it is common. It's common for there
Yeah.
to be a volunteer fee because they do swag them out, so they get
Hmm.
a bunch of apparel and all that, and obviously everything costs money. So it's
Oh yeah.
usually not a super high rate, but in their defense, I know there's a lot of conversation about the ticket prices and all that kind of stuff. It's the biggest golf event in the world.
It's going to be massive. Yeah,
Yeah,
at a golf
in New
course a
York
lot
at
of people could go
Bethpage,
to.
dude.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I mean, I
Hmm.
get it. I'm not gonna fault anyone for wanting to monetize on something. Yeah, it sucks. It's expensive, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And what isn't expensive these days?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're saying it's $750 a ticket. So if you pay the $350
Right.
and you volunteer, you're going to be there all weekend. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to get some swag, and typically with the volunteer packages, if you work X number of days or hours, you always get access to stay on site and be a spectator then when your shift's over. So may not be a bad deal.
Hmm. And I'm sure they have no
Alternate route
problem
to get in.
finding, they probably don't have any problem finding people they'll pay for 350 to go work there too.
Yeah, no, they'll have a waiting list guaranteed.
Hmm. But no, we saw that and there was a bunch of comments coming in about, there's no way you're raking bunkers paying 350. It's like
Yeah,
probably
no,
not, but
no, that's not gonna touch our guys. That's just for your standard bearers and stuff like that. I would have to imagine. I haven't talked to the guys over there yet, but
mhm.
I would have to imagine that's not going to be the case for turf volunteers.
Is that one you're planning on going to this year?
It's on the calendar. Well, it's on the calendar, and it's something we talked about Toro and partnering up with Toro on. They are, I believe, official sponsors of the next several Ryder Cups or Toro facilities. So, yeah, hoping to get out there. It's my favorite event of anything. I mean,
Have anything, yeah,
it's
100%.
what inspired me or really I guess what inspired me really to get more active in golf as a kid. I was a basketball kid, and for me, growing up, it was like, oh, golf, it's not that exciting. I'm not that energetic and all that. And never forget watching Corey Pavin chip in on the 18th. That I believe it was at Oak Hill in '95. And man, I just got the juices flowing.
Yeah,
It's like,
did it.
oh, okay, there is some competitive nature behind this thing. Like, let's do this. So yeah, man. Yeah, hoping to be able to get out there. Definitely gonna try and get out there for for some pre-visits. So anyone that might be listening from Bethpage, expect a phone call or a text or an email from me so we can potentially set something up. So
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to go to. I think I could probably drive to that one too
yeah,
from where
it
I am.
shouldn't be too far for you. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's probably only 8 hours from me. So yeah, I mean that's my goal, is drive out there and spend some time out there, hopefully prior to the event, and if it all works out, be there on site for a few days during the event. So
Mhm.
we'll see. I'm sure the media credentials are probably going to be a little harder to come across for that. So
Possibly.
we'll see what that looks like.
You probably have to pay for it, right? They're going to charge you.
Potentially, I would gladly pay for it. I would
Yeah, no
gladly pay
kidding.
for the opportunity to be there on site for that. So
100%.
we'll just see what everything else is, what lodging and all that. Fortunately, it's in a big metro area, so they've
Right.
got lots of options. But hopefully there's something close. So making a 3:30 start time, don't have to leave at 2 o'clock to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So
3:30 a.m.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. See how all that pans out. So I'm not sure if they have good technology or internet service in Idaho. We'll see.
Possibly.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
terrible service in
do.
Idaho. Thanks for that, Lauren.
They do. What's up? You're an official Idahoan. Is that
I
how you
am
say it?
officially got my driver's license and everything.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
How's that
sir.
feel?
Great, good. Just gets me farther away from you.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's good. Pretty soon you're going to be joining Adam up back in Canada. That's right. I'm outnumbered again. 2 Canadians.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
right.
right. That's right. What's the weather like down in Idaho right now?
I'm wearing bibs and coveralls because it's 35 this morning, so it wasn't warm by any means.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that's nasty.
but what's your high going to be today?
Oh, God, I have no idea. I just got back to work today.
Yeah, where you been off to recently?
I spent 2 days up in the mountains with an early order program.
I gotcha. So how's things? You settled back into the normal routine after the tournament and everything?
Yes, it's great. Just leaf season, so blow and mulch leaves nonstop now. So
The
that's what
fun
we have
stuff.
going. But no, everything was great after the tournament. Healed in really quickly. Lots of sod work, some seeding from all the stands and spectator damage and just tournament damage as a whole. But everything's great.
Right on. Well, we really appreciate you coming on here today, Matt. Brian's told me a lot about you and reading over your questionnaire there. Yeah, it is cool to learn that you were a Canadian or are a Canadian and now working in the States. So tell us a little bit about growing up in Canada and, kind of where you are now.
Yeah, I tried to actually take that questionnaire seriously. Usually, when Brian sends me stuff, I don't take that seriously. But yeah, Canadian born up in Canada. Started working on a golf course at 6 months of age. I was put on a D8 dozer or a D6 dozer to scoop out a green at the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto. So my dad was a golf course superintendent. My grandfather was a golf course superintendent up in Canada. So just loved every minute of being on a golf course. We had one house that we lived at the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto was actually attached to the maintenance shop or right beside the maintenance shop, and my dad built a nursery putting green all the way around the house. So my yard was a putting green when I grew up for a couple of years there, which was awesome to do.
I'm glad you clarified that being a Canadian requires you to be born in Canada. That was a very nice move on your part. I appreciate that. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but I'm so glad you clarified for us.
Wasn't sure if Dan Grogan's listening to this or anything like that. Got to dumb it down for him.
You're a giver. So
you guys, shrapnel. He's not even here.
So Gourlay is a part of X-Men. Goes by the tag name Gourlamy within X-Men. So he's been a part of those conversations and all that fun stuff. But to get back into the serious stuff, your father is a superintendent, former superintendent, GM, all that kind of stuff. Talk about the transition then when you guys moved down to the States and just his influence on you getting into the industry.
I probably assumed that I would always get into the golf course business, as my dad was a golf course superintendent, so was my grandfather. My mom was actually a soil scientist, so she actually owned and operated a soil testing laboratory up in Canada and tested over 2,000 golf courses around the world for soil tests. And she was helpful with the 1993 USGA green zone specifications, helped modify that. And so dinner time, my parents would always have friends over, and it was always talking turf or soil or anything like that. And so learning a little bit through osmosis is probably where I started the transition. But we immigrated to the U.S. straight to Kansas in high school, age 14, kicking and screaming, I guess. Specifically, my sister was. She was a little older, a little more challenging for her as a junior in high school to move over there. But I moved in ninth grade. I was just a wee little tyke at 4'11", maybe 92 pounds. So I was the second smallest kid in the whole school. I refused to call myself the smallest one, but I could have been. But immigrating was just a little different for me, being so small, and I had a thick Canadian accent. During my freshman, sophomore year, I kind of got rid of a lot of that. But if I start talking to fellow Canadians, it starts coming back out, and how you know. But no, it was good. Immigrating to the U.S. was fantastic for our family. It's opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for us in the United States.
And your ties to the golf game, your family ties to the golf game go back even further than that too, right?
Yes. So our family ties go back a long way. So my grandfather immigrated to Canada from Scotland after World War II. And so he was part of the RAF, and he was a navigational expert. And he was able to immigrate into Canada because of Eugene Levy's parents were his sponsor. And so Eugene Levy is the dad in American Pie with the big bushy eyebrows, or the father in Schitt's Creek. But he was born in just outside Glasgow, but our family lineage allegedly is, Gourlays are synonymous with feathery golf balls. And so they were the world's foremost feathery golf ball makers back in the mid 1800s. And so if you wanted to play golf ball back then, you wanted to play the Gourlay golf ball because they were the world's best at it. And due to the gutta percha, or the rubber golf balls that I guess our family never thought would take off, we fell by the wayside with building golf balls, and now here we are maintaining golf courses. So we're still tied in with golf somehow.
So did you know, Matt, that this is something you always wanted to do? Like, did you ever think maybe, oh, I want to branch off and do something else? Or was it always like, I'm going to follow in my grandfather and my father's footsteps?
I always had an inclination that I was going to work on a golf course. I loved going to a golf course with my dad. I remember fond memories of riding shotgun up in Ottawa, riding to the golf course, sitting on his briefcase. Why he had a briefcase as a superintendent, I don't know, but he propped it up there, and I hopped on it, and I could see over the dash and just watch the road as it came along. But I assumed I was always going to do it, even though I was a terrible student in high school and in college to start off with. Didn't really push myself or try to have a desire of anything. I was just a so-called cool. I was too cool for anything, too cool to study, too cool to take tests, too cool for any of that stuff. And so I just kind of was trudging along in life, and went to Kansas State University to pursue a degree in golf course management. Was on academic probation for 2 or 3 semesters before they finally said, you need to get your act together. You got to take a little break because your grades aren't high enough to meet the GPA. And I took a little time off and did an internship in California. And when I really realized that I love working on a golf course, but I might not want to be the guy working on the golf course when it's 40 degrees and raining and the wind's blowing 45 and just, blowing leaves just into the wind and just hating your life. And so I wanted to have the opportunity to do that if necessary, but not have somebody dictate that to me. And so I started taking education much more seriously since then. And then when I went back to school, I stopped being back row student, just reading the newspaper and doing Sudokus, to being front row student and actually paying attention to the class. And it really changed my GPA and my outlook on life quite a bit. And now I can't learn enough about maintaining golf courses. And so just an innate desire to continue my education, even today.
I was going to say, you went from basically being told not to come to school to then essentially being a professor for the most part, right? I mean, you were heavily involved at Kansas State, right?
Yeah, heavily involved with Kansas State University. Where I was in Kansas at Cobra Hills Golf Course, we were tied with Kansas State University. I was actually an adjunct faculty for the university, and so I would teach or help with up to 11 classes a year, from either golf course architecture or irrigation management, to even some soils classes. So it just kind of depends what the professors were looking for. They were always looking for real world experiences for their students to go see. And we were so close to the university that they utilized us and utilized myself for helping with certain classes.
Were you pushed into that? Like, it sounds like maybe at the time you weren't really into it or you weren't fully committed. So was it something that your parents were pushing on you, or did you kind of find on your own?
No, they weren't pushing me into anything. They just wanted me. I would assume that they wanted me to do well in my life, and obviously they believe a degree goes a long way for that. So a degree in something is what they want. And so when I was politely asked not to return to K-State for a semester, my mom really laid into me during that time frame. So obviously they weren't happy, and I wasn't happy with myself, but we learned from that and moved forward.
And here you are now, you with all the ribbons. I mean, what is it about that drive to get all the certifications and just be heavily involved and, like you said, continue learning on a daily basis?
My drive has to be from trying to one up my dad. Talking with him, he felt the same way for my grandfather. My grandfather was a Distinguished Service Award winner with GCSA. He was one of the founding members of the Canadian Golf Course Superintendents Association. So my dad would always tell the stories when he would go to the national show with my grandfather. My grandfather knew everybody, or everybody knew my grandfather. My grandfather was his idol, and so it's just no different with that my dad's my idol. But there's this drive to be better than him. He has some big shoes to fill. He was a master superintendent, certified golf course superintendent, certified club manager, certified chief executive. He had multiple designations after his name that, I have a lot of accreditations after mine. He has more. The coolest one that I always remember that I poke fun at him is a CPO. He was a certified pool operator. So that's the coolest one that he ever got, in my opinion. He was never. He always joked himself that he always wanted to get that PRO behind his name and maybe be a PGA guy. But our golf games were single digit handicaps, but it's a big difference to try to do your PAT and go along the pro route. So, my dad's my idol. He's the one that I'm trying to catch and make proud, I guess, make him look proud still to this day. And I'm just trying to be better than him. And he casts a large shadow, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
So who got the best of who on the golf course then?
My mom.
Oh, the X factor.
My mom picked up golf late in life. I think she was in her 30s when she picked up golf, and she just won her club championship this year down in Ave Maria, Florida. It's a over 55 retirement community that they play at. So she won not only the ladies club championship, but she won the ladies match play championship too. So she's
she just runs the clubhouse down there, right?
She's the one. It's funny that the only picture text messages I get from my dad is when they play in tournaments, and they play in tournaments often, either two-man scramble, four-person best ball, or whatever. And they're always, winning the event in either the net or gross side of things. So I'm sure they're going to get blackballed within their club, that they can't come back for a few years until they get a little older and don't hit it as far or as well.
Oh, that's so funny.
Do they have a front row parking spot with their names on it then, as club champions and all that kind of stuff?
I would assume they could, but they live on the property, so they just drive a golf cart right there. So they have a 2-car garage. They own one vehicle. If they they rarely drive it because it's a community. They just drive golf cart to town, golf cart to the convenience store, golf cart to the clubhouse. So they have a pretty good community. They live there.
That's really fun. So you obviously spent lots of time with your dad growing up, working together. Now that you've kind of gone off and done your own thing, have you guys spent any time working together, any tournaments, or does he come to see you and help you out at all?
Yeah. So my dad was up this spring. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him to come volunteer this year. He was up playing golf up in Canada over in PEI, but I think he's going to get signed up for this August and come help us for this August to help out. He was here in May and came to the golf course and helped us out just a little bit. And our general manager was a little taken aback that I was at work instead of taking time off with him. But I put him to work and tightening up ropes and doing a little bit of mowing for us to help out on the golf course.
Awesome. So you mentioned, recently coming up there to Boise, taking a new job when you were at Kansas State for quite a while. Talk about the thought process of considering taking a step and taking a new role.
Yeah,
especially with a family too. Moving a young family.
There was lots of things to consider to, uprooting our lives and moving 22 hours away. We don't have any family around this area. Nobody in the Northwest, nobody on this side of the Rockies even. So it was a big jump for us to take this role and responsibility. But it was different. It was a different time. Just having the conversation with my wife. My wife was born and raised in Manhattan, Kansas. Her parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles all live in Manhattan, Kansas. So to uproot her from everything that she knew and was comfortable with, I was surprised that she was willing to take a leap of faith with us to come all the way to Idaho. My son was 5 at the time, or just had turned 6 at the time. He was 5 when we told him that we were moving. It was a little easier for him. He's thoroughly enjoyed this area. He just doesn't want to leave. He absolutely loves his friends and everything that he gets to do here. But yeah, I don't know. It's anytime you make a big life decision like that, it puts some strain and stress and uneasiness in your life, and some anxiety definitely shows up sometimes.
Sounds like you guys are in a good spot and definitely having a lot of fun. And if the kids are happy, that's always a good thing, right?
No, it's huge that my son's all in, right? So my son says that he absolutely loves this place. My wife says the same thing, but we all know adults can lie. I don't think she is, but you just never know sometimes. The 6-year-old will tell you straight up, man, you don't look great today. It's like you're losing hair by the second or whatever, Dad. But the wife is, I want to make sure she's happy and happy about it all the time. So, we have lots of conversations, but she says that she thoroughly loves it up here, which is awesome.
The sun's calling out the receding hairline.
Yeah.
It's no longer a forehead that I have. It goes way back. I should have put some makeup on to help with the lighting that I have in here.
Or just wear a hat or something. Come on, Gourlay.
I need something.
I'll send you something. We got you.
Not all of us can be a silver fox like you and just,
that's true.
Yeah,
make it work.
That's it. That's it. No just for men in here, man. We're keeping it all natural.
So Matt, what about your other family, your turf staff? Talk to us a little bit about what you guys have going on at the shop and at the golf course. Maybe something different or something special you guys do.
I'm very fortunate to come in here with a long tenured team members. Our longest tenured individual is 29 years on property. He started here in high school with his grandfather, and he's been here ever since. His name he goes by Squirrel. His real name's Robert, but goes by Squirrel. And I always asked him why Squirrel. He says, I'm just always moving and doing things like kind of a squirrel would. I mean, even his wife calls him Squirrel, so everyone calls him Squirrel. But so we have long tenured individuals like him, 29 years, as well as our least tenured individual is 2 years, but he's a 19-year-old kid that's here with us for a full-time staff. So there's 12 of us that are full-time. Average tenure is probably, if you remove Squirrel and the 2-year individual, we're probably 11 years of average tenure for our team members here, which is fantastic to walk into. They have a deep desire to continue to make Hillcrest better. They love hosting the Albertsons Boise Open, and they've done multiple over the years. But it's a special group of individuals that really make it fun to be here at Hillcrest and try to continue to improve conditions for us.
So when you were at Kansas, you had a lot of students, a lot of young guys, young people working for you at Kansas. Talk about the differences in managing, a more tenured staff versus, what you were doing in Kansas, where you did have some younger people, some students that were making up your staff.
Yeah, so obviously differences in college. We were all dumb back then, making poor life decisions, and so
does that ever stop?
Loved. What's that?
Does that ever stop? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it doesn't really stop ever. But
we'll get into that later.
But I loved working with the college kids. We'd get a new college kids almost every year. We're very fortunate back then to have individuals who'd work with us for their whole 4-year tenure. Sometimes we'd only get them for a semester. Sometimes we'd hire them as their senior spring semester right before they graduated. So I love the youth and energy that they brought. Trying to build schedules with individuals that it's a part-time job for them. Even during the summertime, they're there to get a degree in something, and most likely it wasn't in turf management or golf course management. And so they were looking for side money for food or booze or car payments, rent payments, and stuff like that. And so they definitely needed some sort of income, but they always knew that they had their parents to fall back on. So it's just a different thought process working with full-time individuals here. We know that if jobs our tasks start or our day starts at 5 a.m., our full-time guys, I know that if they're not there at 5, there's a good reason. They either had traffic or they couldn't find a matching pair of socks to show up, but they were going to be there at 5:01, 5:02. Whereas the college kids, if it was after the start times, like, I don't know, they could have gone out the night before on a thirsty Thursday with 50-cent wells. The university's team could have won a big game and they just spent all night partying and they might not show up the following day. Whereas having a reliable set of staff, that they're going to be there every day and they care about the property and they actually see things on the golf course that I might not see and really take attention to detail to help resolve and fix it out there.
So along the lines of bad decisions, then, do you guys have like a poll or anything that you are doing competitions where you can see who climbs the furthest along any sort of suspension of the building or anything?
No, I don't.
No, okay.
I don't have that relationship yet with these guys. But in Kansas, I would make some poor decisions, as you're mentioning. I'm 39 now, but in Kansas, they would all call me dad, right? Because they were all college kids. And so I was technically kind of old enough to be their dad. So that was my nickname that I had for them. And so I always tried to make myself feel younger by doing things like a pull-up contest or monkey bars over something. And Brian brings it up that I wrecked my bicep one fall, a couple falls ago in October, right when Brian invited me up to his place, play some golf up there. And we tried to play Muirfield. and I think I hit 2 or 3 shots on one of the holes, and I almost felt like I was going to throw up because my arm hurt so much and I couldn't play golf anymore. And so, Chad, if you're listening to this, please invite me back. That's Chad Mark, director of golf over there at Muirfield. So invite me back, and I want to try to see if I can't break 90 on your golf course.
I would love to see you try and break 90 at that golf course. It is the hard. I mean, Grogan, I think, just barely did it. He's a pretty good stick, so it's brutal. It's brutal. And,
Yeah.
and it wasn't Chad that gave you that invite, by the way. That was me. That was directed.
I know.
I appreciate you. I appreciate the workaround trying to get around that, but we'll see. We'll see. You're still in timeout after that whole ordeal.
Yeah, just poor life decisions really ruin things for me. But my golf game has greatly improved since I've come to Hillcrest. So playing on a golf course has changed some things. Cobra Hills was a residential community. It had lots of force carries and native areas where you lose your golf ball. So I always felt like I was standing on the tee box there, and I just couldn't find a fairway, even though they had massive wide fairways. And now at Hillcrest is just an old school country club, square track of land with tree lines and all that. And I find the fairway, surprisingly. I don't know. My game's greatly improved now that I've moved to an old school type golf course. So I'm feeling good about my game. So yeah, breaking 90. If Grogan can, I'm sure I can.
It's a challenge. I hear a challenge.
Yeah, you guys should get a little game going at some point. That'd be fun, especially the little X-Men. You guys have never had a tournament or something?
No, the X-Men have hounded Brian to host something, but it hasn't happened as a whole group yet.
Yeah, okay. Because guess who has to pay for it?
Yeah. Would that be your
expected to?
Would that be your kind of number one escape then, Matt, from the golf course, going to play golf somewhere else?
It used to be. I used to be a really good golfer, and I had dreams of maybe being a professional golfer or even be a PGA pro. And I remember the moment that ended for me. I think I was 15 at the time, and I was playing in a future collegiate world tour event. And my dad was my caddy. And after the 5th hole, I was 1 under through 5. I walked off the green, and the other kid I was playing with was like, "Oh my God, you're really good. I think you're going to win this thing." And we get to the 16th hole, and I tend to I hit a ball out of bounds off the tee shot. And I look at my dad. He looks at me, and he puts the bag down, and he walks in. He's given up on caddying for me for the day. I hit the ball out of bounds behind me. It hit a tree branch, bounced on the tee box, and went behind me. And I somehow managed to shoot a 99 after being 1 under through 5. And I knew that I was a head case, and that's when my playing career had ended. Prior to marriage, I play golf twice a week, 3 times a week, and I was a 2 handicap, and I was still a head case. I still would hit drivers off every hole, just try to bang it out there, and never had good course management by any means. But then I met my lovely wife, married her, went from a 2-3 handicap to a 6 handicap, so she increased to 3 to me, and then the birth of my son has decreased my golf even more, and so now I'm a 9 handicap for him. So played this fall for the first time with our golf pro at a course in town, and so I was a 9 handicap, and he's a +2 or scratch handicap or whatever. And so after the first 4 holes, I had an 8-shot lead on him.
No way.
And so he was calling me a sandbagger. I mean, I was 3 under through 5 or something like that. And so he was calling me a sandbagger being a 9 handicap. I ended up shooting 75 to his 72, but it's pretty good for a 9 handicap out there beating up on the pro.
Yeah, it's a good day.
And yes, I did post the score. It brought my handicap down from a 9 to like an 8.5. So I do sandbag, but not that bad.
You're going to be dangerous in San Diego for the championships. You and TA teaming up again?
Yeah. So Todd and I have always played together for the last 10 years, unless we have family that's playing with us. Either our dad's coming to play. So TA's son, Peyton, is actually going to play with them in the 4-ball. So I'm not playing in the 4-ball. And I'm actually not going to play golf this year because we're still waiting. I was still waiting to hear back from our budgets that I was turned in for next year, and haven't heard back from that for the most part. Golf's full, is what I was told. And I'm trying to bring our assistant golf course superintendent to the national show, which costs a little bit of money. So I would definitely trade out bringing him to the national show instead of going to the golf and being it all about me. I know a lot of times it's always about me. I don't have my wall of shrine up here in my office yet that Brian's seen with all my plaques and trophies and accreditations and all that. But I'm trying to bring one of our team members for continuing education. So I think I'm out this year for golf, which is unfortunate. When I came to the realization, I pouted all day, and my wife's like, get over it. Like, it's just golf, but it means a lot. I love going to the show and playing in the golf. So I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, you had a nice collection. I was going to comment about your bare walls up there. You don't have any of your plaques or anything. It's crazy.
No ribbons?
No, I haven't done anything yet to the office. I need to remodel it a little bit and change things around. But that's this winter's project. I didn't want to just come in here and immediately start hanging stuff up. I just wanted to show the guys that what I can do instead of them just seeing stuff of what I had done in the past. And then I don't want to really hang a whole lot of stuff up here that is all former stuff that I had, environmental leader in golf awards that says Covert Hills on it all over where I'm at Hillcrest. So we want to try to build something while at Hillcrest. So once I start doing stuff at Hillcrest, I'll start hanging a bunch of stuff, except for all those plates from GCSA championship and long drive champions. That's the good stuff I hang up.
Yeah, that's probably going to take up all the space that you have in there anyways.
Quite possibly. I don't have a large office here, but it'll take up a lot of wall.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about the climate up there. You know, when I was thinking when you're going to Boise, I'm thinking, nice and cool and that kind of stuff. But hearing from you in the summer, it's pretty extreme, huh?
Yeah, so it's high desert. I think we're about 10 inches of moisture a year that we get. It's usually in the winter time is when it rains for us. So summers are hot, dry. It's hotter here the summers are hotter here than where I was in Manhattan, Kansas, growing warm season fairways. So I can't remember all the statistics, but every day is probably in July and August, the average high is probably going to be 98 as a high. So definitely hot and dry. And it's weird coming to this side of the Rockies and seeing all the wildfires. On the other side of the Rocky, you East Coasters, you hear about occasional wildfire or anything like that. But I mean, there's hundreds of wildfires nonstop that's burning on this side of the Rockies that you never think about or see it or see all that stuff. So we had some smoke that rolled in around mid-June, third week of June, and it rolled out just in time for the Boise Open the third week of August. So we had almost 2 straight months of just smoke being out there in the valley, just suffocating us. And so there was one day it got really bad. There was a fire actually right close to my house, about 300 yards from my house, that was blowing all the smoke down into the golf course here. And so we sent everybody home by 9 a.m. because the air quality was so bad. I mean, you couldn't see 200 yards because the smoke was so bad.
How's that impact the agronomics? What impact does that, smoke and lack of sunshine and whatever else? I mean, how's that impact the golf course?
Yeah, so it impacts the turf grass significantly. So it decreases the evapotranspiration rate or how much the plant water it uses. It also decreases its growth potential because it doesn't have the sunlight, can't photosynthesize as much. So you start coupling two of those things, and then with the smoke, it kind of increases the humidity a little bit. And so us being a very arid region here, we'll have moisture of 10% during the day in June. But once that smoke rolls in, it just kind of keeps the grass plant wet, which then increases the chance for disease, which is different for us, because if we didn't have the smoke, we wouldn't have really any disease pressure out here. No dollar spot. We wouldn't have pythium, anthracnose. We would have a little bit, fairy ring we would have, but we wouldn't have all the disease pressure that the Northeast gets, or even Florida gets, or anything like that. And so once that smoke rolls in, we start being more cognizant of moisture management, really decreasing the amount of water out there because the plant's not using it, transpiring it as much. And we want to try to keep firm and fast conditions without having fungi kind of take over out there. And so
Got to have a little disease pressure, right? A little bit of job security.
snow, snow mold, it's really not, though. I still have concerns about diseases all the time, whether it's pythium or anthracnose, fairy ring, snow mold. I still have concerns about it, but if, yeah, I mean, there definitely is some out here, but God, it's almost none in all reality. If we had a little break in some weather patterns here and there, we could probably almost get away with not doing anything all year and having okay conditions. Maybe not at Hillcrest, but I could see some other facilities around the valley here that they could probably really push their luck with some different agronomic practices and having just a little bit of disease out there and just letting the mother nature kind of take care of this stuff.
When I lived in Alaska, we traveled down there quite a bit to play the Steelheads, stay right downtown, and I still have dreams about the burger they made at that hotel. There's the Grove Hotel right downtown Boise. They had the Grove Burger. Oh my God. I still have dreams about it. It was unbelievable. So yeah, it was a very, very fun spot. We actually took a trip out one time to Boise State to see the football stadium because it's like world famous, and you go out there and you see the blue turf, and it was so cool. Like, it was just mind blowing. One of those I didn't expect to see something like this. So it was a really really fun city. There's a lot to do. I know that the downtown area is really nice as well. So I don't know if you've been out there, Brian, but definitely a trip to make.
Yeah. I'm close to downtown. I can see downtown from the golf course here. Seeing the Smurf turf with the Albertsons Boise State field is pretty cool in and amongst itself. And then, yeah, the Steelheads are right downtown too, which is our minor league hockey team.
So is that true about the Smurf turf there? Do birds mistake it as a body of water and just dive into it? And
I have no idea. I don't know enough about that.
Oh, well, you got a project for this winter, then you got to go get the real deal on it. So I know, Matt, you volunteered you've been to a bunch of tour events. You just hosted this year. What is it about tournament golf that you appreciate so much and that drives you to want to be involved with it?
I don't know. I started getting involved in some of the tour event stuff just because, my first one that I did was at Oakland Hills back in 2008 because I did an internship up there. And so I've done that, some local ones around the golf course to help back in Manhattan. So I did, ones at Blue Hills in Kansas City just to be helpful. And then it just kind of snowballed into some other events, and it was fun. I enjoy it, trying to provide the best turf conditions for the world's best golfers is what it comes down to. The camaraderie that you get to do with other volunteers and interact with and network with individuals from all over the U.S., sometimes the world. So, I worked at an event down in Austin where we had, Canadians and individuals from England as well that volunteered there. So you just get to meet a lot of people and build friendships, and you get to pick their brains if you come across something, and you just kind of build your network and your knowledge. And so that's why I just enjoyed volunteering and doing stuff like that. Hosting it is different. There's not enough free time at like volunteering. You get assigned a task to, rake bunkers or mow fairways. You're with the groups out there, and when you're in running the event, I just didn't spend enough time with the volunteers. I really planned on spending more time with volunteers that we brought in to help them and thank them for all their time. And I just don't feel like I had enough time or opportunity with them because just running the event's just a little bit different than being a volunteer.
It takes a lot. There's a lot that goes on, and it's the highest part of our industry is working those tournaments. So whether a mower goes down, or there's big irrigation break, or there's cows that walk on the golf course, it's something you guys have to be able to solve and push through.
Yeah. So in Kansas, we hosted a APT, or All Pro Tour, or it used to be the Adams Golf Pro Tour. It's a 4-day professional golf event there. We hosted for 10 years. And the golf course was a residential golf course. It went through a residential community, but it was right on the edge of town. That's how the town was growing. And so there was still areas surrounding the golf course that was farmland. And I remember one morning, our fourth hole, coming out there, and it was covered with 30 to 40 cows on our fourth hole the morning of round one of that professional event that we hosted. So we had moon pies all scattered across
Oh, no.
the rough and fairways. So, making a phone call for individuals to go get scoop shovels to start picking this stuff up and chasing them off the property. And at the time, the surrounding land, we had no idea who owned the cows. We knew some of the landowners. We didn't know all the landowners. We didn't know where the cows came from. So we had to get involved with the Riley County Police Department to figure out where the cows are. We've had horses on that property too, and the horses was cool when we had them out there, because we had real cowboys riding other horses that were looking for these lost horses. So you'd see them ride over, five of these guys ride over a hill in a pack looking for horses and wrangling back onto their properties. But those cows was interesting. We found the owner, they got them back that day, and the next day, a couple more of them got loose because they could never find the hole in the fence that they created. So, seeing on the cows on the golf course was fun. But fortunately, we got it cleaned up before play got there, but barely. There wasn't a whole lot of time before play got there. Fortunately, it was on the fourth hole instead of the first hole. Delayed tee times because of cows out on the golf course.
One less fairway to mow too, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it did get extra fertilizer from them, which was nice.
Yeah. A lot of organic matter.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What was the other crazy one you had there, Matt? Was a hot air balloon that landed on the golf course?
Yes. Yeah. I think it was a week after, or a week after our Boise Open. They have a hot air balloon parade with the city and all that. And so the smoke had rolled in, and you can't really see a whole lot, but occasionally I would see these balloons pop up, and I knew about them. And I just remembered, the way the wind was blowing from where they took off towards the golf course. And right beside the golf course we have the Boise Airport. And so they can't, fly over restricted airspace or anything like that. And so we're their last line of defense to land a hot air balloon. And so they landed on our 11th fairway, right in the middle of 11th fairway. It's par 5. And so our first member was playing through there, and he just kind of pulled up to us. And so I got some good pictures of him pretending to hit a golf shot around the hot air balloon. But their support team was right there, right on the side of the golf course, which is a road for us. And they were able to deflate the hot air balloon, get the two ladies, the two passengers off really quick, and they folded it up and hauled it off within 15 minutes. So it didn't affect play or anything like that, but it was cool to have a hot air balloon land right on the golf course, dead middle of our 11th fairway.
Jeez. They still let him go up even with the smoke and everything?
I was surprised. It was, not only that, but the way the wind was blowing, I was watching them. I could kind of see they were taking off between us and downtown, which is about 3 miles, and they were at Ann Morrison Park, and there has to be like 30 hot air balloons that they were sending up. And so I was kind of watching them kind of take up, go up, and that a lot of them were landing before the golf course. And so I just assumed that they were all going to land before the golf course. And all of a sudden, I get a phone call that there's one currently landing on our 11th fairway. So I had to go out there and take some pictures, which was cool. But I don't know enough about it. But yeah, they all went up during smoke and all that.
They didn't call you first before sending them up. You didn't make that say.
No, nothing like
That's too
that.
bad.
So I'm a nobody.
I thought that'd be another one of your ribbons. You could be like air traffic control or something to be the final.
Try to get maybe be a certified hot air balloon pilot. Try to get something like that going for me.
Next time we talk, I expect that to be done. One of the things that we like to do here is ask guests to offer advice to students. And obviously you've had a lot of interaction with students over the years. What kind of advice would you have to young people looking to get into this industry or advance themselves within the industry?
Biggest thing is asking questions. Why? Just always ask why. Even though you might know the answer, just ask why. And why is a big driver. When I worked for Paul David's in Kansas, my dad was general manager at the time. I worked for my dad. He was a general manager for me for 6 years when I was superintendent there. But two superintendents before me was Paul David's, and I remember he would always get flustered sometimes because my dad would always ask why this. And so even though my dad probably knew the answer, but he would always ask why, like why are we aerifying today? Why not tomorrow? Why are we watering at 0.2 inches? Why not 0.18? So the more times you can ask why, the more you'll just be inquisitive and try to find out the reason, whether there's a superintendent on the street, what they're doing. Just I don't know. I just always ask why are they doing this, why that, and go from there. So why would be the biggest thing for anybody, is just ask the question why.
But is that one of the biggest lessons or pieces of advice you've received during your career? Do you have something else maybe that stands out as one of the big pieces you live by?
Yeah, why is a big one for me. Ask the power of why is huge. But another one that my dad would always ask is, for $1 million, could you do it? And it's surprising. So one of my good college friends, John Abercrombie, he was an assistant superintendent for me in Kansas, and he went in to talk to my dad about something, and my dad asked him the question about, we had some weeds and bunkers, and how can we do something for that? And the conversation went along the lines, it's like, maybe we put a little sprayer in a bunk with a bunker rake, so they can just touch up some weeds while they go around there. And John said, no, we can't do that. Costs too much, blah, blah, blah. And my dad just said, well, for $1 million, could you get it done? It was like a light bulb clicked in John's head. It's like, yeah, I guess, yeah, we could do it. I mean, it's really not that expensive for us to buy a little 1 gallon or 5 gallon backpack sprayer. We can put it in there. I mean, all in, we're probably $100 for costs. And so, those two things from my dad, asking why, and for $1 million, could you do it? Most of the time for $1 million, yeah, you could do it. So let's figure out a way that we could do it.
That's really good advice.
A lot I could do for $1 million.
Oh yeah,
$1 million.
The other thing we ask,
whole X-Men group to play golf.
You guys, you want a hell of a golf trip for $1 million? PJ resort.
Hell yeah, I'm in.
Matt, the other thing that we ask for from people is just about the work versus school debate. And I know you're somebody that went to school and really got into it, and now you have all these accolades and all the very decorated with all the ribbons and everything. So what advice would you give to people that are maybe not thinking about going to school or are working and wanting to go to school? Like, where do you kind of land on that whole thing with our industry?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to have a degree by any means. I have one. I think it makes a big difference when you are interviewing for jobs. You know, having that piece of paper that shows that you were able to um, be punctual enough to attend classes, to study the material, to learn the material, and pass the class goes a long way for the hiring committees to differentiate yourself between you and somebody who might not. However, the information that you learn in school isn't end all be all. It's to help you expand your knowledge out there. And so what I like to talk about a lot about this is soil test reports. And so in school, I learned about BCSR, or base cation saturation ratio, which was a way of interpreting soil tests that was originally derived from corn. And obviously, we maintain turf grass differently than corn, but it's still the same philosophy that they're trying to do. Are we trying to maintain golf course turf as a yield crop and trying to have it the thickest, tallest, most bushels per acre? Probably not. But for a while, I would always use that BCSR for soil test interpretations. And it wasn't until a few years after that Pace Turf came out with MLSN, or minimum levels of sustainable nutrition, that I've changed my philosophy on how to interpret soil test recommendations, which then in turn helps us provide firmer, faster conditions out on the golf course, while then helping us reduce costs to help reallocate resources into labor to help pay for, some labor shortages that we might have, or pay the guys a little bit more so we can try to retain and attract more individuals. So even though I was taught one way in college and I have that paper degree, without continuing education and continuing to further and push myself to learn more, I would never have learned MLSN, and I would have been stuck in the ways of that. And so it changes a lot. And so that degree is just a moment in time, whereas continuing education, you want to learn that more throughout the remainder of your career, because things just change so quickly and so often about what is right, what's wrong. For instance, like anthracnose, we used to believe that you shouldn't top dress greens because it in the summertime, because it increases the chance of anthracnose, or the severity of anthracnose. And now that's completely opposite. They recommend top dressing greens every 2 weeks to get rid of anthracnose. And so without continuing education, I would have been stuck in my ways. So does the paper help? Yeah, it helps differentiate yourself from a hiring standpoint, but I am no more knowledgeable than somebody without the degree by any means. They can learn the same stuff that I know through continuing education, but I would say continuing education is far more superior than a college degree. But I do still believe that a degree matters, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, doctorate, associates. Some sort of degree matters to get you in the door, and it makes a world of difference with the hiring committee, I guess.
Along the lines of continuing education, are you on the agenda again for the conference this year, or in 2025?
I am not. I've done a lot of talks, regional talks, national talks. I gave one at the Canadian show too. But I always enjoy going and giving presentations at the GCSA's conference and trade show. I didn't sign up this year. I have nothing planned. It's just when they wanted the request for education was in March. I had been on property here for 4 months, and I was missed the deadline to turn something in to give a presentation. So I'm taking a year off, a little sabbatical, I guess.
What are you going to do with all your free time then, if you don't have to present and prepare and not play golf?
I know. I don't know what I'm going. It's going to be different this year.
Man.
I'm not there. The trip's going to be much shorter. I'm not giving presentation. I don't know. I'm just going to be like a lost puppy, just wandering the halls looking for somebody to talk to, I guess. I have no idea what I'm going to do. But there are some great education opportunities there, which I look forward to taking, as well as taking one of our assistants, Ernesto, to help further his career and his knowledge. So it'll be good to see what classes that he gets signed up for.
It'll be good. You get to see a different side of the show this way. Not so much working, more of just kind of a fan and a participant. That's always nice.
Yeah, fan, but there's definitely some classes I'll take. I just won't be presenting. There's lots on the trade show to wander and go through. But networking would be huge. Attending maybe a superintendent network gathering of some sort. We'll try to make sure that shows up, because I got to make sure I make fun of our D1 collegiate athlete Brian Rent anytime I see him.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. The D1 athlete that can't break 85 anymore. It's fantastic. I love it. So I got to know.
He talks so much shit about his game, and then we're gonna golf, and he's gonna like shoot par or something like that.
Yeah, I can tell you that will not happen. That will not happen. So Matt, I want to know. Obviously, your dad on the superintendent side, very heavy influence. You learned a lot from him, but then your mother, being a soil scientist, who do you think you got or use more of maybe some of the lessons they've taught you? Who do you think you kind of lean more towards as far as influence on the way you behave as a superintendent? Is that a fair question? Does that question make sense?
No, I mean, I learned it. I have traits from both of them. Growing up, my mom she would never let my sister and I win anything. If we're playing Monopoly, she would be cutthroat and do anything she could to make sure that she win, and dominated us on those board games. And so we just bought Monopoly for my son this past week, and so we played it like 4 times, and I'm cutthroat in it. I will do anything I can to destroy my wife first, and then just put the pressure on my son to end his Monopoly career. So I definitely have that from my mom. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. But my dad, I use a lot of his mannerisms. I try to emulate him as much as possible, because he was always my idol growing up, and he's still my idol. So it's a little bit of both from both of them that I try to emulate and try to be a better person in their eyes.
But do you use did your mom kind of put some soil knowledge in you that you tend to lean back on a regular basis?
Oh boy. I've definitely called my mom and asked her questions through the years. She's at a point in her life that she's retired. Her soil testing company, she ran that until about I entered college. And so right when I started college is when she stopped running that soil testing company. And so her desire for continued education or even talk about soils kind of plummeted. But you really watch her, that 7-iron on the 7th hole. She just really stuck it. She wants to talk about that type of stuff a little bit more than the soils. But I still call her occasionally and ask her questions on the soil stuff and soil reports. And so she's a little foggy on some of her memory and knowledge on some of that stuff, but the information that she's able to retain has been instrumental in helping us here.
So what about the next generation? This is something that's been in the bloodline for a while. Do you see it passing it on to your kids?
Potentially my son. My son loves coming to the golf course with me.
Nice.
In Kansas, he would go to the golf course really often. I lived a mile from the golf course, so I was really close. And so when we were bored, and my wife worked evenings in Kansas, and so when we were bored and I couldn't entertain him any longer, I said, "Hey, let's go to the golf course and let's go do something." So we would go to the golf course, and he loved working in the shop. He'd grab a hammer and start hammering things, and that's fixed, and move on to the next one. Digging in sand is another fun task for him, and just touring the golf course was great. I don't live as close now. I'm still close. I'm about 15 minutes. I'm really spoiled. It's 9 miles. It's a 15-minute drive. It's still fairly close, but I just haven't had enough time here to bring him out and do things with him on the golf course yet. Whether he decides to continue it here, I don't know. I do know that I'm not allowed to hire him on the golf course because of nepotism. So if he wanted to work on a golf course, he would have to work at a different facility around us. And there's two that are somewhat close. And we just live on the wrong side of town for golf. We're on the edge of town out in the desert. And so I don't know if he continues it or not. If he does, great. If not, great. Whatever makes him happy.
Is that your work address that you put on our questionnaire? Is that the house address?
I never give you my house address because I don't trust you enough that you won't, send something terrible to me. But yeah, that's definitely my
Come
work
on,
address.
I would never
So.
do that. I would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Even though I know your house address and you allegedly had a Yeti show up recently to your address from a
I
secret
know.
admirer of yours out there in the world.
I need to know. I need some initials. I need a hint.
No, but it was very nice of them to
It was very nice of them. I wanted to say
send you
thank
a
you.
personalized Yeti cup without wanting the not the and you to even know that they exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like a Canadian move right there.
I'm still not 100% convinced that it wasn't you, Matt, but
I can guarantee you it was not me. I put
well,
zero
that's true. That
dollars
is a
into
little too
this.
nice. That is a little too nice.
It
Yeah, I
was.
guess
It's a little too nice. If it was me, I probably would have put a Tim Hortons gift card in with it, so you can
yeah.
have some
Go buy Lauren's favorite
like a
donuts.
double from down the house down the way from you.
Matt, I just wanted to ask you about Ottawa. You said you were down there with your family when you were pretty young. What course were you guys working at?
It was Eagle Creek was the golf course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so my my dad would occasionally tongue in cheek he would call it Evil Creek occasionally. So
Yeah.
he helped build the golf course from its infancy, and so they had some financial constraints during the construction or after that with ownership and all that. And so he would tell the story that they had a like a Coke or a Pepsi machine in the break room. And so they were really low on funds, couldn't fix things and all that. And it's like, let's just pop open the pop machine and take all the quarters to go buy a part to fix the greens mower or roller or whatever. And so, yeah, so he was there for 3 years, but I remember fondly that they hosted a professional event there and watching those players afterwards and the caddies afterwards actually came to our house in Canada, and we had a pool, and it turned into a big pool party afterwards for the players and caddies at our property, including the grounds crew that showed up to turn this into a wild evening. The Senators opened up their stadium right there in Canada in 93, 94 when we lived there.
Yeah. So Brian, Eagle Creek has interlock cart paths all the way around the golf course. It must have been one of the most expensive, biggest projects on a golf course the entire way around. It's wild.
Fancy.
Yeah, so my dad did that because he did the same thing when he built Beacon Hall. So Beacon Hall has interlocking all the way through there as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So he said it was fairly economical. He would have one guy on a little mini just kind of dozing and grading and all that, and then two other guys just laying it all.
Wow. It's a big project.
I mean, he says it was easy because he would just drive up with his coffee, point, and drive off. I'm sure it was backbreaking work to lay a couple miles of cart path like that.
Yeah. Just roll up with this Tim Hortons, huh? Say nice job. Well, Matt, this has been awesome. We appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up for the pod?
I don't know, but I appreciate you having me on. I'm a big introvert. Really don't like talking to.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
Big introvert myself.
We appreciate
I got nothing. I got a dog of turf in my office here, so try to follow dogs of turf. Whoever runs that account does a fantastic job. So really enjoy them, whoever they may be.
Zach Wignall, good dude. We're supposed to be helping them and doing some content with them on a monthly basis, but life has kind of gotten in the way. So I got to touch base with Zach and firm up that partnership and do some more with them. But yeah, great account. That's good. I'm
Yeah.
glad to know the dog is able to get out on the golf course with you still.
Yeah, it's surprising. Yeah, bringing her onto the golf course has been great. Hillcrest is two separate nines divided by a road, and she is scared to death of the road because trucks drive on the road, and she's scared of like trucks, like box trucks or UPS trucks or anything like that. So it scares her to death. And when we started our build out for the Boise Open, we had all sorts of trucks and trailers on property. So for once they started showing up, like she would stay close. I say close. She could see me, but she was a good 600 yards away from me and where the action was. So she kind of stayed in the office a little bit too much. So she's a little chunky right now and needs to start running some LBs off for her. But yeah, she just hated the whole month of August with trailers and trucks driving all over the golf course. So it's nice now that there's nothing like that, so she can get out there and start, chasing some geese and try to keep the Canadian, my brothers and sisters from Canada off property. They're the worst. I hate Canadian
they're
geese.
terrible.
God.
Blame Canada, huh? South Park.
Need to blame Canada.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Matt. Appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. I'll tell your birthday twin that we had a nice conversation today, and look forward to connecting again here sometime soon.
Yeah, buy her some Tim Horton donuts, some Timbits from me.
Yeah,
she hates those.
Go over. Yeah, she's a donut snob. It's okay. Everyone's got their thing.
Thanks a lot for joining us today, Matt. This is really great, and we look forward to hanging out with you in San Diego.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks so much, guys.
The invitation might get lost in the mail though, since I can't send it directly to his house. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks again, Matt.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Take care, Matt.
Yeah. Bye.